All right. So your next storyteller coming to the stage, along with her wife, has almost 2-year-old twins, 3 dogs, 4 cats, and lives in Northern Virginia. And she and her wife are pretty big on doing foot races like triathlons, but they kind of had to take a back seat. Oh, you're there! Hi! Give it up for her. But yeah, so the races kind of had to take a backseat to her starting her first year of law school. Yes. Oh, this must be your cohort in the back, I'm assuming. See, I knew that word. All right, please give it up for Sherwet Witherington.
Come in and the tide's gonna turn and it's all gonna roll your way. Working 9 to 5, what a way to make a year.
Thanks, guys. Those are my classmates. Before I kick off, Jen told me I could go a little bit off script, so I'm going to do that. I want to tell you about Shannon Kent. Shannon is a mother of 2 little boys. She is a wife to Joe. She's a daughter, a sister, Chief Petty Officer in the United States Navy, a categorical badass. And last fall, when the United States Navy wouldn't let her become an officer because of her cancer diagnosis, she went to the Hill in some very, very fancy suits, and she knocked on doors, and she single-handedly changed the Navy's policy on their medical waivers program so that people can become officers. It's not fair that she can enlist but couldn't become an officer, right? Shannon was my friend, and yesterday she was killed by a suicide bomber in Syria. So this one's for her. Shannon, may you have fair winds and following seas. I love you, sister. And with that, I will tell you a story. I was going to call the story When Women Have Babies, but it doesn't convey what I want to tell you, which is how 2 women have babies. And spoiler alert, it's science. I tried the other way. It doesn't work. So you need a baseline for all of this, and the baseline is the passion, the fire of an Egyptian woman, which is what I am. I am an Egyptian woman. And the way I describe this to people is best captured in Shakespeare's Antony and Cleopatra, okay? Antony has gone back to Italy, and Cleopatra is in Egypt, and she misses him. And so she says, but come, fetch me ink and paper. He shall have every day a several greeting, or I will unpeople Egypt. That's what she says about writing her man a letter, right? So if nothing gives you a window into what it is to be a fiery, passionate Egyptian woman, let that be it. So that's what we're dealing with going into this journey. The DC Center had held a night called Path to Parenthood, a night for lesbian moms-to-be. And it was a panel of a reproductive endocrinologist, a reproductive rights attorney, and the president of a sperm bank. So probably the only situation where it was appropriate for a man to be talking about sperm in a room full of lesbians. So this was in June of 2015, and the reproductive rights attorney told me and my wife, she said, listen, in 2 days, you may not have to do second parent adoption paperwork. And we didn't. Obergefell v. Hodge it's a law case. I'm in law school. So what's really, those are my classmates. So what's really important, what I really want to underscore with this is we didn't have a starting point, Kayleen and I. Kayleen, honey, can you scream for the people? That's my wife. We didn't have a starting point, and the DC Center was putting on this free panel for us to go ask questions, to get some ideas, to talk to people who knew what they were doing. And that's important. It's important for society to have that sort of education available and accessible. And I hope the DC Center is still doing stuff like that. I'm sure they are. So we go to the panel. I immediately develop a crush on the reproductive endocrinologist, which, lesbian event, someone's going to crush on someone, you guys. It's going to happen. But it's only you, baby. And we make an appointment with her. And in the fall of 2015, my wife and I decide to go through the egg harvesting process together. So that's 2 type A women under the same roof going through hormonal injections so that we could harvest our eggs. These are not good ideas. What we learned is that women's bodies truly are very, very different. For example, my estrogen levels are very high. So I had like a fairy dusting of estrogen that I had to take, just a little bit like that. My wife's estrogen levels were super low, so we essentially had to back up a truck and have it pumped in the water of our house so, or they could shoot right on up. In the spring of 2016, I really wanted to be pregnant, and she really didn't. And initially, we had thought about doing reciprocal IVF, where I was going to carry her embryo and she was going to carry mine. But in the spring of 2016, when I really wanted to be pregnant and she really didn't, we decided, what about twins? So we went to talk to the reproductive endocrinologist. Thump, thump, thump. And I said, I've always wanted twins. Can we have twins? And she pushed a pamphlet across the table about the risks of multiple pregnancies called, But I've Always Wanted Twins. She said we could give it a shot, that there would be risks involved. I was also, because I was in my 30s, advanced maternal age. And she said there were no guarantees, but we could give it a shot. So the emotional, we went through the IVF process, which is about 4 weeks of Kayleen having to give me shots, intramuscular shots in my back. And it was actually painful, right? Because one of the shots she had to give me was like an oil-based compound. And so when she'd give it to me, she'd have to immediately like rub my back because it would just sit there all viscous and painful. It was bad. I didn't like it. I did not like it. And so we went to our nurse and I was like, I hurt. I don't like it. I hurt. And she suggested we switch to a vaginal suppository. Arguably the only time in my life was like, that sounds great. Yes. Yeah. But before I could say anything, my wife goes, no, we're good. We're almost done. I was like, we, bitch? Are we almost done? I should also note that while she was giving me the injections, no fail, every day for 4 weeks, she's like, it's time to stab a bitch. The people we love, am I right? So in a few weeks after the injections, I got a phone call that I was pregnant. Yeah, no, that was exciting. Yeah. And the order that we found out the news was, first we found out I was pregnant, and then we found out they had transferred girls. And then about 2 weeks later, Kayleen and I went in for an ultrasound, and he scrolled it over one part of my belly, and he's like, there's a heartbeat. And as we like gripped each other's hands, we're like, and he scrolled over another part of my belly, and he said, and there's the other one. I got pregnant with twins. Yeah, no, it was good. It was good, except now, guys, my body was creating 3 times the estrogen. So emotional regulation was right out the window. Right out the window. My chemical balance was gone. And I would go from like in the morning, like, I am who I want to be. And I want to be who I am. To like later in the afternoon where I can't see colors. And then like there was this one incident with do you remember, baby, the sweet green salads? I was like, I want a shrimp salad. Shrimp! And she brought it home. She brought me exactly what I asked for. And as she walked in the door, I said, I did not sign up for this chaos. Before I demanded she kiss me and bring me dinner in bed. Carrying your children. I actually had a really great pregnancy. I didn't have any nausea. The major thing for me was this unreal exhaustion. Like, have you ever had what I call the paralysis dream, where you have to fight back but you can't because your limbs are too heavy? It was that, but in real life. I couldn't move my limbs. I would sometimes sneak out of my office. I was in the Army at the time. I would sneak out of my office and go nap in the back of my car, and then like get out all casually, like, oh, I'm a soldier. There's nothing to see here. Go Army. So the girls will know that they are IVF babies. They have a picture of their donor in their room. Kayleen artistically put the syringes photo. She's really into that. So there's some syringes. There's a picture. It's in their room. They will know. And we'll likely not tell them the gory details about the pain, about the time I said, if this doesn't work, I'm not going through it again. What we will tell them, and what is arguably the coolest tidbit about all of this, is that Kayleen's embryos were brought to 6 days before they were frozen. And my embryos were brought to 5 days before they were frozen. When they transferred the embryos into me, Kayleen's implanted higher than mine did. So that when our daughters were born, mine was born a minute before hers. So our firstborn daughter is a day younger than her sister. Because science. Thank you.